Good afternoon and welcome to our special council meeting for July 15th, 2024 at City Hall at 4 p.m. We have a couple of public hearings to start off the agenda here this afternoon. We'll start off with public hearing with bylaw 2419, the amendment to land use bylaw 14-1. And I'll call upon Gavin to give an explanation of this proposed bylaw. Gavin?
Chair doesn't seem to raise. Okay, through the chair to mayor and council, bylaw 2419 proposes to redesignate land at 315 3rd Avenue East from light industrial to commercial general. As per the requirements from the Municipal Government Act, a public hearing must be held prior to council's decision on this bylaw to rezone the land. At the time of writing the report, no comments had been received. Subsequent to that, we did receive a comment. This was from Prairie Custom Collision. They are directly west of this property at 811 3rd Avenue. As this has been circulated to council, I won't read it in its entirety. I will just give you a summary of its contents. The adjacent landowner is concerned, given that their property is a custom and collision property that houses many vehicles, and their primary concerns are that they are working on vehicles and the noise levels that they create at their property may not be conducive to commercial uses in the adjoining property as is being proposed. The nature of their business, thus they wouldn't want to see a lot of complaints given what they do, and that's their first concern. Their next one is traffic and parking. There isn't a lot of extra parking for commercial uses is their point, and that some of the traffic is industrial in nature, so heavy trucks coming and going. This all leads to the fact that they are opposed to this change in use, and as such they just see that they are incompatible for given what they have done over the past 20 years on their property. And yeah, that's a summary of what they've put forward. The site context of where we are, this is an industrial property and it contains an office and 5 bays of rental space. The owner wishes to include options for commercial ventures within the rental spaces. The general area around the location contains both light industrial, commercial general, 1 heavy industrial use, as well as has proximity to housing, park space, schools, the hospital, and the change of zoning towards commercial would not be contrary to those types of uses. The commercial general district has similar uses to those listed in the light commercial district, but also has additional uses that the applicant believes could help fill his building for rental. The existing tenants within the current industrial building, they are all covered by use under the commercial general district. So nobody in there that's a tenant of the current leasee would be put in a position of nonconformity. The public hearing this evening, I guess we're looking to see whether any of the public have any further objections, and as such I think it is important that you know where the individuals live or have their business in proximity to this change, and that would give you some context as to their concerns. Recommendation this evening is that council completes second and third reading. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gavin. Okay, person speaking in favor of the proposed bylaw, any on this one? This is 2419. I see none. Person speaking in opposition of the proposed bylaw. Tammy, if you want to come forward, please state your name. Full name, please.
Hi, and good afternoon. My name is Tammy McElwraith, and I am opposing this rezoning. First of all, the council meeting July 2nd, 2024 listed the address of this proposed amendment to the rezoning at 315 3rd Avenue East. And the council package for July 2nd also provided that same address. However, in the Brooks Bulletin paper dated July 3rd, 2024, the actual address and correct address is 815 3rd Ave East. Okay? So, clarity is being asked about what the proposed use of this is when it pertains to commercial venture with rental spaces, as the assessment summary for 2023 indicates the actual use is improved industrial warehousing and storage. And the site content, as according to the minute package in July 2nd, 2024 in the meeting, also said it contains an office with 5 bays of rental space, and the owner wants to include the options for commercial ventures with rental space. However, I am seeking to dispel any rumors that the building is being utilized or the intention to rent it out to people to live in.
Yeah, I don't have, go ahead, Gavin, if you can.
Yeah, so I will verify that the address is 315 3rd, so that will dispel that. The request is for commercial general. Within the commercial general, that would be the general category. Each use that would come forward after that would have to apply for a change of use per bay. So this is a partitioned building with all these bays in one big office. There is no proposal for residential at this point.
It would have to, Tammy, it would have to come through MPC, and they would have to apply it to be residential, but it is not zoned residential, it's zoned right now industrial, with a plan here to change it to commercial on that. So, does that answer your question? Right now, I don't believe it's, the plans are for it to be residential.
Oh, fair, okay. It's just that the assessment summary indicates it's improved industrial warehousing and storage. It doesn't indicate that it's currently contained as an office space or the 5-bay rental space of it. Further to that, there was a posting in the Brooks Rent Sell Homes Trade Facebook group with a picture of the listing, and it actually indicates it is 815 3rd Ave. And it indicates that it is available for rent. So again, dispelling the rumors that the intention of having this rezoned is not to have it as rental space to accommodate human beings.
Yeah, and valid point there too, and we do have mechanisms in place too, because again, they would have to come through MPC, and if they're not following our guidelines, we do have mechanisms in place to make sure that it's not residential use on that. Anything else?
No, and you're saying that address is correct, Gavin?
As far as the information I have, so.
Okay, well, I encourage you to relook at that information because the information that I have is not the same. And that was it, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tammy. Okay. Anybody else speaking in opposition of the proposed bylaw? I see none, so any final comments, Gavin?
I will verify that Prairie Custom Collision is 811, so the address could be 815.
Okay, so we got the right address then, eh? Okay. Councilor Wardrop. What's that? Well, just maybe, can we do that now or at the final, after the final?
Well, I think you would want to ask questions during second reading.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Gavin. Final comments.
I have none, thank you.
Okay, so we adjourn this public hearing at 4:07. I'll open up the next public hearing. This is for bylaw 2420, amendment to land use bylaw 14 to 12 at 4:07, and we'll get an explanation of this bylaw. Gavin?
Bylaw 2420 proposes to redesignate land at lots 11 through 28 of Block 7 Plan 0511404. This is 216 to 250 17th Street East. as well as lots 2 through 28 of Block 8, Plan 0511404. This is address 304 to 356 17th Street East. Lots 12 through 17, Block 2, Plan 96-10719. These are lots 11 through 21 of Garrow Crescent East. As well, lots 21 through 25, Block 2, Plan 96-10719. These are lots 27 through 35, Garrow Crescent East. And finally, lots 6 through 7, Block 4, Plan 7386JK. This is 31 Oak Avenue West, being designated residential medium density, residential medium density, RMD. In addition, the land described as Lot 81, Block 6, Plan 711182. This is 33 to 43 Lake Newell Crescent East, be designated residential high density. As per the requirements of the Municipal Government Act, a public hearing must be held prior to Council's decision on this bylaw. At the time of writing this report, one written email and one phone call concerning the redesignation were received, and the writers of those and the phone call of that requested to speak to 33 through 43 Lake Newell Crescent East, and they were received. They just wish to speak to the item. Both residents are here this evening. As well, I believe that there is a longer list of those that may be wishing to speak to this item. The legislative and planning context for your information, the proposed rezoning comes as a result of the passing of bylaw 2416, which created a new residential land use district. To assist developers, staff, council, and the public in understanding the impact of redesignation to higher density developments. A new land use district was adopted between the existing residential low density development and residential high density development. And where residential low density is limited to 4 dwelling units, the new residential district will be limited to 8 dwelling units. That's between 5 and 8. And high density is above that, 8 and above. Several existing buildings were found to be between 5 and 8 dwelling units, and they were currently designated residential low density. And one was found to contain 10 dwelling units, and again, this was zoned residential low density. This placed them in a non-conforming position with the current land use bylaw. The adoption of this bylaw will rectify that non-conformity. So what is non-conformity and what are its effects? A non-conforming building is defined in Section 616 of the Municipal Government Act, subsection Q, as a building that was lawfully constructed or under construction on the date the land use bylaw amendments became effective, but does not comply with the bylaw or any amendment thereafter. As the case may be, nonconformity can adversely affect real estate transactions, new construction, development additions, and building reconstruction. And this, therefore, is an important aspect of land use planning reviews. In this case, individual landowners need not be concerned about the change as an administrative function. They should be assured that their building is in alignment with the land use bylaw, which, if the need arises, allows them to make the application for compliance and development permits without requesting a redesignation of their lands first. This evening, again, I remind council that we want to hear from the citizens of concern, and we want to know exactly the proximity of where they're speaking from, if they're within the same area, and to speak for or against the bylaw. Recommendation this evening is for passing of second and third reading.
Okay, thanks, Gavin. Okay, person speaking in favor of the proposed bylaw. Okay, person speaking in opposition of the proposed bylaw, and I think we have a few here. Mr. Rogers, would you like to start off here? Just if you want to come forward, state your name.
My name is Tim Rogers. I am resident at 29 Lake Newell Mews, and the for or against, because it's my first time at this kind of rodeo, I didn't actually understand that you needed for and against, because mine, I guess, is more of a question or a concern, and I guess it might be against. So initially when, so I wanted to thank first Gavin. Gavin did phone me last week and said, hey, can we talk? And then I was on holidays for a week. But then, as well, Lisa Tiffin from the City of Brooks provided a long answer to an email that really answered most of my questions. So initially when I received the notice from the city dated June 27th and then in the newspaper, my concern was, why now? Why are we changing the zoning on a property that currently exists? I understand after listening to Mr. Scott and then the email from Ms. Tiffin, it had to do with compliance because there's too many buildings on there for low density housing. So I understand that part of it. I guess my concern is with the change, what are the implications moving forward for that change? And because my letter doesn't really fit the context, I'll kind of go through some of it. But my concern was the property owner, the government of Alberta, or the City of Brooks was attempting to resolve the housing issue. The housing issues in the city by building an apartment block in place of the duplex-style housing residences currently in place. So I'm extremely concerned about the impact that any change to the current dwellings would have on the community as a whole, on the potential issues for traffic, transients, the decrease in the overall sense of community. And I was very concerned about the impact, of course, on my property value about having a 3-story, 4-story building put up across the street. And I am 3 houses away from when the first of these 10 buildings are there. So, and just the negative impact of having so many more people living in such a small area, being in a crescent, and then on our Lake Newell Mews, which is a close. While the letter dated June 27th alleviated some of those concerns, and then the email from Ms. Tiffin alleviated some of those concerns, I remain skeptical about the intention to change the nature of the residences on the property and to increase the number of dwellings on 33 Lake Newell Crescent. And that doesn't help. This is perhaps my own skepticism, the timing of the communication and the meeting at the beginning of summer when many people are out of town and unable to perhaps be here, be made aware of when these changes are taking place, myself included, where I would have loved to have a conversation with Mr. Scott over the phone, but given that summer plans are such there, that wasn't possible. So why I'm here specifically then is, I guess I'm opposed, but not really. I really don't know what I am, Mr. Petrie. What I respectfully request is formal and documented reassurance from the City Council, from Community Development, that there have been no discussions, formal or informal, by any office, committee, or party affiliated with the City of Brooks regarding the possibility of changing the nature of the residences on the lot in question. As a property owner who would be notably impacted by such a change, I seek confirmation that the Alberta government, who's a property owner as I understand it, under the Alberta Social Housing Corporation, has no indication or desire to investigate, research, or consider changes to the housing on 33 Lake Newell Mews. And that would be my primary opposition, is that I'm opposed because I don't want any changes that would take any changes now or moving forward that would see a change to anything greater than what is currently on this premises.
Okay, to answer your first part, the first part is, as Gavin had talked about, because we did change a lot of the land use bylaws because we do have a housing challenge in this community here. So what we did in a lot of cases is change from low to higher density there. Secondly, in your case there, because those, I think there's, is there 3 duplexes there right beside in that area?
There's 3 in the Crescent and there's 2
and then
on Lake Newell.
there's 5 all together. We have mechanisms in place, and it would be up to Brooks Housing to change that, but there's mechanisms in place there. If they were going to change that, they would have to come through MPC to do that. And then MPC would have to decide on that, and then again, you could challenge that again. If that didn't work, we also have the next mechanism in place, which would be the Subdivision Appeal Board too, which would, could challenge that again there. But from what I understand, I think you read that their new housing, they're short of housing too, and I don't think they have any intentions of changing the 5 duplexes there. And I agree with you there, like an apartment building in that small area in the Crescent there would be a disaster, because there'd be, you know, we run into parking challenges already in this community here, and I agree with you, it'd be a challenge, you know, in that area there. But all we're doing in that area is just conforming our bylaws or making them pretty standard on that. I don't think, I can't guarantee, but I'm quite sure you don't have anything to worry about them putting an apartment building in that area there. I think it would be too small personally on that, but somebody could go through the mechanisms of MPC on that there too, but I don't think that's going to happen, but I can't guarantee
And so that's the
anything on
request I
that.
made by email to Ms. Tiffin, was for any records, formal or informal, any records of any discussions, telephone, anything regarding the potential for that to occur. And I don't know how I go about being,
Whenever there's a development, it doesn't matter in most areas here, and maybe Amanda can confirm that too, all residents are contacted in the area there, within a surrounding area, whenever there's a development coming in the area there too, right? I don't know if you want to add to that, Amanda.
One way or another, adjacent landowners would get notification, but I can personally say that I have never received any communication from the individual who is the overseer of Newell Housing, that any sort of extra development or replacement of the development that is there currently, that any future development other than what's already there would be taking place.
okay.
Yeah, Councilor Wardrop and I are both on that Newell Housing Committee, and not once have they ever talked about that. And when you look at the 5 duplexes there, they're really nice duplexes in a nice neighborhood too, because they have nice neighbors like you and Mr. Falkenberg there, so they're quite.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what
But anyway, I think you guys want reassurances that there's not going to be an apartment building there, and as far as I know, but there is I just want to reassure you, there's a mechanism in place. If they sold it, first of all, you'd be notified about that. Secondly, if there's any development in your area, you'd be notified that, and there is mechanisms in place to change that there too. Yeah, I don't know if you want to add anything more to that, Amanda, on that.
So can I ask a question about the bylaw process? Is that appropriate
Yeah,
at this
go
time?
ahead, and Gavin or Amanda
So
can
should the bylaw be, should opposal to the bylaw, should the bylaw be struck down or the bylaw not pass? What happens to that property then, that with the buildings on there no longer correspond or no longer are in compliance with, because currently they're not in compliance with the zoning. So if the bylaw is not passed, what happens to the residences on that?
Good question, then I'll get Gavin to answer that.
Yeah, so as my introduction indicated, that nonconformity is a situation where if the property was to try to change hands and they look for a compliance letter, that compliance letter would indicate to them that they don't meet their current zoning requirements as far as this 5 to 8 units, and this is a 10 unit, so it does put it into the high density. It also would prevent them from expanding any of the development that they already have on site. Nonconformity is a thing that until it comes into conformity, it cannot change the nature of what it is. Now, this property having more than 8 units, that it would have, if it had less than 8, it would have met the low density, but it never has ever since the bylaw came in 2014, I believe. So when the bylaw came in 2014, this property was not identified as even meeting the low density that it was given. It should have been pushed to high density when the new bylaw came in, and it wasn't. Not to say that nonconformity is a horrible thing. It is something that by design sometimes council chooses to do. So you can have a residential house in a commercial district. That residential house, they hope, does transition to something else. So by design, it can be an effective tool. It's not all negative.
All right. So I'm all in favor of following rules, but I think I will still stay opposed to the bylaw, just because I think that'll add another check or balance should they ever propose to make changes to that. So,
Okay, good.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, okay. Maureen? Come to the mic there, state your full name.
Good afternoon. I'm Maureen Baxa, and I live at 33 Lake Newell Mews. I was only made aware of this at first from social media. of someone talking about the area, because the letter didn't come out until, I guess a week and a bit ago we got it. When I read it on social media, I actually came to City Hall the next day and with the newspaper article. And first of all, the newspaper article is actually not the right addresses because it isn't Lake Newell Crescent. According to the map, it's Lake Newell Mews that is right across from it, not Lake Newell Crescent. But, so I guess I didn't pay attention to it because it didn't say Lake Newell Mews. And then as I looked closer at the map and came and talked to someone at City Hall, I realized, because she said, well, that wouldn't affect you if there was changes. And I said, well, actually it would, because I look out at that from my living room window. So I began to do a little bit of research, and she gave me some paperwork of what low density looks like and what high density looks like. So kind of like what Tim was saying, for so long that area's had improper zoning. There is a fear of what it would look like changing to high density, even though I know you're saying, you know, you can't guarantee it won't happen. But the paper that I received about high density and the purpose, saying that it provides for a mixture of dwelling unit types in various configurations, such as single detached dwellings and multi-unit dwellings in a range of densities. Later saying in 2.1 that apartments are permitted. So I guess the fear being, once it's passed, no, there isn't talk of that right now, but it would be permitted. And I know you said there's guidelines that would be, that would happen before that, but you're right that that does not fit this neighborhood or this crescent to have what is listed on the high density permitted uses being an apartment. So that is part of the concern that we have, because that was our main question, is that a goal that the owner city has? And I know you're saying it isn't, but
Yeah,
that you can't guarantee that it
Yeah,
wouldn't
the city does,
be.
it's Newell Housing that looks after those 5 duplexes. We don't.
Right.
We're part of that, but but go, sorry, go ahead.
No, just saying that it would be permitted that they could do that. And that is a vast concern that we have.
Yeah, like I had told Tim there too, I mean, there's a mechanism in place here too, and we have 2 people on MPC here too, that, and you're right, they are rational on that there too. MPC does have guidelines to go, but there is, I mean, they do listen to the concerns of the neighbors and places like that. But like I say, we do have a mechanism in place. We have several mechanisms in place to, you know, to make sure that that doesn't happen. Like I say, I can't guarantee anything because I don't know what the next council will be like, or the council's 10 years down the road, or things like that, either on that. But the idea was of this zoning is just to conform all the, you know, the bylaws together there. But I don't think it has anything to do with your area there. But I want to preface that, like, I can't guarantee what happens down the road either there.
Because
but there are mechanisms in place there too. Yeah.
It's been many years the way it has
Oh,
been, so that's kind of, you know, it just seems like out of the blue to change it, and then in the paper it being improperly really advertised with the wrong addresses was
But-
kind of misleading in a way that you don't, if you read this first and then look at maps, I wouldn't have even looked at it because it didn't say Lake Newell Mews when it really should have. But
Yeah, and I'm not too
so
familiar
to have
with-
any
with
decision
the
made
ad on that,
before
yeah.
that's corrected and reprinted,
Yeah.
I don't think is right, but.
Yeah. I can't remember what was, I know the full ad appeared in the paper there too, which we have to do by law.
Right,
on-
but,
On that. there, too.
yeah, just meaning that it has the improper addresses, but.
Oh, okay.
So I would also be opposed to it in the fact that what could happen in the future with allowing it to be high density, we're very unsure of that because our neighborhood has a family feeling with the Crescent, and it is out my living room window, and we don't want to lose that. So, but
Okay,
and yeah,
understandable. Okay.
that's all.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Maureen, yeah. Mr. Falkenberg, you want to talk?
Well, they pretty much said everything I was going to say.
Oh,
No point in wasting more time.
oh, yeah.
I oppose.
Yeah, okay. Okay, anybody else speaking in opposition of this proposed bylaw? Okay, any final comments here, Gavin?
None, thank you.
Okay, and then I adjourn this hearing at 4:29. Okay. Moved by Counselor Goodenough that bylaw 2419 be read a second time. All those in favor? Oh, just wait, sorry, I can open this up for questions here now. Yeah, go ahead, Counselor Goodenough. Yeah.
Just a question for Gavin then. So technically, we could leave this. It's, as you said in your statement, it's unconforming, but it's not an end-all, end-all,
I
be-all.
think we're on the commercial.
Oh, sorry, we're on the first-
This is
sorry,
the
my
first one.
apologies.
Yeah, this one is 2419. This is the one changing from industrial to commercial there. Yeah, okay, Councillor Woodruff, yeah.
My question is, would the concerns that were raised by Prairie Custom be alleviated through the process of asking for like any potential commercial operations, acquiring a business license or a change of use? So would the issues about traffic and parking and noise be solved through that process? I guess my question would be to
You can answer that, Gavin, but I would
Gavin
think it'd
or
have to
Amanda.
come through
Yeah,
MPC,
through the chair,
right?
Timorous, or Councillor Wardrop. These processes with the Development Authority certainly have the ability to notify adjacent landowners when these items come up. Of course, permitted uses are permits in right, and they have the right to get those permits. Anybody using that building, though, should recognize the neighborhood they're in and the industrial uses around it. So if a use, perhaps a little more sensitive to noise, was to move in there, they should have a good look at where they're going. Now, as I understand from the landowner, that there are businesses that they know what they are, they know what's there, they just can't find another space. And so they're willing to get their business going and then perhaps look for another rental space later on if they find it incompatible. So yes, the mechanisms for change of use are always there. They're always there to notify the public of what's going to be put in that building. And hopefully that process garners response. I've enjoyed the fact that we have had response this evening from our circulations.
Councillor Jessica.
Thank you. Yeah, Gavin, so I did speak to the person that owns the property where the person opposing the bylaw change is located, and he doesn't own it. So I don't know if that's relevant or not, but I did ask the owner of that property if he had any issues with the change in the bylaw, and he said no problem with him.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. To the motion that bylaw number 2419 be read a second time. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Idris that bylaw 2419 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the Province of Alberta to amend bylaw 1412 being the land use bylaw be read a third time and adopted. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Jessica that bylaw number 2420 be read a second time. Any questions on this one? And this one is the conformity zoning around the community here, and this is the one where Lake Newell Muse came up there. Any questions, Councillor Jessica?
Yeah, I'm just looking at that property on the GIS mapping, and so things are muddied a little bit about what the actual address is. And from looking at the map, it looks like it should be Lake Newell Crescent, not Lake Newell Mews.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, I drove around that area there, and it's Lake Newell Mews. I don't know if it should be Lake Newell Crescent.
Well, the numbering from west to east is 27, 31, 33, 35, 37, 39, 41, 43, while Lake Newell Mews starts at 17 and goes up around. So I guess it is vague for sure, but.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Amanda.
Just for clarification, just so you know that the address, the legal description that's in the map and in the bylaw is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, 5.
Okay, Councilor Wardrobe.
Just for clarification, so which building has, or which building contains 10 dwelling units? So we're looking at, is it 10 dwelling units in total on the property? Okay, so it's not like, so how many buildings are there? 3? 4?
There's five duplexes.
There are five duplexes. Okay,
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
my. Yeah, one moment.
Okay, Councilor Jessica.
So the idea was raised that this issue has existed up till now, and it wouldn't be the end of the world if it existed going forwards. If that particular property was removed from this bylaw, would that have any effect on the passing of this bylaw?
As to the rest of it, Councillor Jessica, no.
So what are you suggesting?
No, I'm just getting information. If, there was a possibility that the council would consider leaving it the way it is, just for the mental well-being of the residents, and I wondered what the impact of that would be.
Councilor Wardrobe.
Is there another definition that property could fall under? Could it fall under, I guess, Gavin, is there any other definition that this could fall under besides high density?
Through the chair to Councillor Wardrobe, no. As we defined it, we did do low density up to 4, the medium density up to 8, and because this has 10 dwelling units, it has to be high density. There's no other categorization. It's just how we defined density in the bylaw.
Councilor Goodenough.
I think if the property was subdivided, then it could be classified as low density. That, because the property's so big, there's 8. That's the only change, really, at the end of the day. And I don't think there's an interest in doing that, but just for clarification.
Yeah, I don't really see, and again, like we can't guarantee anything in life here either, because we don't know. Somebody could buy that property and build an apartment building theoretically, right? But I believe there's mechanisms in place, and like I say those, and I think we've all, I don't know if we've seen those. Like, I mean, there are 5 nice duplexes, in a nice area of town there too. And I agree with, some of the people that said, the traffic would be horrendous there. It is tight already, and it is a crescent area there too. And I believe just this bylaw just brings it into conformity there. Councilor Jessica there.
So that belongs to Newell Housing. So who does that property really belong to? Is it the province, or Newell Housing through the province, or?
It's the province of Alberta, but it's Newell Housing through the province of Alberta.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Councilor Prentice?
So what do we have to do to take that one out of that scheme of that bylaw without affecting the rest of them? Can that be taken out?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Prentice. Yes, council would have to have an amendment to this current bylaw requesting that portion to be removed, and you'd have to vote on that amendment and then move forward with your next votes after that's been decided.
Can we do that here?
We can do that here.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, okay.
I'll make
Councilor
that
Goodenough,
motion.
Okay, just wait, okay. Go there, okay. Councilor Goodenough will make that motion then, yeah. By taking it out, Gavin, what does that do?
Yeah, through the chair to Mayor.
What's the negative side of that?
Again, this is a public entity who understands perhaps better the mechanisms of business ownership and aren't looking to sell the thing. If this was a private entity that wished to flip the property and a compliance letter was requested, it would be difficult to provide compliance given its nature. But again, as I say, this is a publicly run entity. I think you're in a position where they haven't noticed it before, they haven't flipped the property before, they haven't decided to add more units, these types of things. So again, it just puts them in a position where, should they decide, they then would have to come forward, seek the appropriate zoning, whatever their desire, and go through the process again.
Councillor Idris.
I think the easy way is just to make a motion to strike the last portion of the current motion. Yeah.
Well, the current motion is bylaw number 2420 be read a second time.
Oh, no,
So we have to do an amendment to it, because it's the whole bylaw. Yeah, so basically what we're doing is just doing it, yeah. Okay, moved by Council, okay, go ahead, Councilor Wardrobe, yeah.
Is there a simpler way of granting an exception for this piece besides changing the bylaw?
Well, I think if we do that.
In terms of process, like, is there, instead of amending the bylaw, is there a simpler way to grant an exception for for this piece of property?
I'll leave that to Amanda or Gavin on that, yeah.
The best way to do it is through the bylaw, otherwise you could find yourself into some legal ramifications.
Yeah, I mean, anything we've done now, we've already advertised that this was the intent of the bylaw, is to go to high density. If council so wished at a later date, you could consider direct control, but we already have a district for what this is, so even that may cause pause by the public. Well, now council can decide anything they want goes. So again, you're in a position currently where something's been put forward, you're reacting to it, and I think as I see it's happening, council has a motion on the floor to decide to remove.
Okay, so anyway, I'll read, okay, moved by Councilor Goodenough that bylaw 2420 be amended by removing any reference to Lake Newell Crescent East and removing Schedule D from the bylaw. So that would basically protect that area, Lake Newell Mews, those things around there, right?
Let's put the legal description in there for me so that we have that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to read this again here too. Moved by Councilor Goodenough that bylaw 2420 be amended by removing any reference to Lake Newell Crescent East, Lot 81, Block 6, Plan 78-11182, and removing Schedule D from the bylaw. Okay, to the motion on the amendment here. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, now we do as amended. Is that how we read that? Okay. Moved by Councilor Jessica that bylaw 2420 be read a second time as amended. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councilor Prentice that bylaw 2420 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw 1412 being the land use bylaw be read a third time and adopted. Do I have to add anything to that? I don't think so, eh? No, you don't. Okay. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councilor Wardrobe, the bylaw 2423 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw 2120 being a bylaw to provide for the regulating and controlling of animals be introduced and read a first time. And I believe this is Amy's here.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mayor and Council. With the opening of the new dog park, the city's animal control bylaw off-leash areas need to be updated. So the only change is a new Schedule D, which was attached. The old rodeo grounds and the off-leash area off of Young Road have both been removed, and the new dog park has been added. Therefore, administration recommends that council provide 3 readings and adopt the bylaw.
Okay, to the motion, before we get to second, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Prentice that bylaw 2423 be read a second time. Any questions on this one here? No questions on this one. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Jessica that bylaw 2423 be given 3 readings at this meeting, has to be carried unanimously. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Idris that bylaw 2423 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw 2120 being a bylaw to provide for the regulating and controlling of animals be read a third time and adopted. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Goodenough that as per section 2052 of the Municipal Government Act, Chris Parker be appointed Chief Administrative Officer effective July 22nd, 2024. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Wardrop that the meeting adjourn at 4:44 p.m. All those in favor? Carried. And the meeting's adjourned. I just want to point out, if you have questions, Sandra, you can phone me. And Mr. Parker's in the audience there too, if you want to stand. I don't know if people who know who you are there. He'll be starting next Monday there. So welcome to the City of Brooks there, yeah. And we got a community cleanup going on there, so hopefully everybody can help with the community cleanup. Thank you very much.